welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD with Renee Allen. I am Renee Allen. You already know that. And I'm the host of this podcast. I am excited to be here today. This is episode 103. I made them out of order deliberately, but kind of on accident. Meaning I realized as I was recording that I hadn't recorded episode 103 yet, but I still wanted 104 to be 104. and I released it before today's episode. So if things like that matter to you, if you see that and you wonder why are they out of order, that's why. Because on the 100th episode, I decided that I was going to share the top 10 things that I was sharing kind of in my 100 ideas. And I was going to do them in order, 101, 102, 103. And when I went to open it up yesterday, I thought I was on 103, but then I didn't. You know, when your brain just switches? And then I thought, no, you're on 104. I even checked and everything. I even looked at the podcast app and everything. But sometimes our brains don't remember what we once knew, even if it was 5 minutes ago, especially if it was 5 minutes ago. If it was 5 years ago, there's a better chance you remember it because it's locked in there. If you remembered it once, it's probably still there. But back to today, episode 103. This is about the actual step that I talked about was breaking things into smaller steps to stop yourself from being stuck or being overwhelmed or dreading something, which actually sounds contradictory because the dread factor, at least for me, is recognizing that there are 1,000 steps to washing my face, not just one, not just three. I think I did better washing my face when I was in high school because I heard that you could wash your face with a glycerin bar of soap. Do you remember seeing those? They used to be clear. It was before fancy soap like goat's milk or soy-based or whatever, the beautiful soaps that there are right now. They're my very favorite. I love to buy them and smell them and look at them. They're like little sculptures, little pieces of art. I would never make them because they look like they have 1,000 steps, but to buy them, I love them. The clear soap was glycerin soap, and I heard that you could wash your face with it. Where did I hear it? High school? I don't know. Teen magazine? I don't know. But I just washed my face with it, and I was fine. And I did that. But then I learned that there were different steps to wash and do a refresher or a astringent, or there were so many things. And I just thought that sounds like a lot of work. And it's something that I dread, something that I don't like to do. So if I were to break that into small steps and say, just do this, and then maybe you could do the others, I don't know that I could trick my brain into that. I could just do the first step and not do anything else. I do that sometimes and just make up my own steps. But I do it in some way. And so for this episode, I didn't want to talk about breaking something into smaller steps because I've already made an episode on that. I don't know that I could add more to it. Maybe someday I will. So I thought, okay, what can we do? What can you do besides just starting with step one or making it really small? And I thought, well, sometimes that works. We have methods that work for us sometimes, and other times they don't. We still just don't do it. And we could have all the reasons in our heads, but we don't do it. So one method that I've adopted recently is to identify what could be fun about it, because I found myself doing this anyway, and you might find yourself doing this. Like, let's say you're unpacking, you've just moved, and you need to get a room set up or something, the living room or something. Maybe you enjoy hanging pictures on the wall. Maybe that's what you start with, and you just even though it would be nice to have furniture out, or maybe it'd be nice to get rid of all the boxes. You start with what appeals to you. You start with what's fun because why? You'll do it and you'll enjoy it. And there's much more satisfaction, obviously, in doing something you enjoy. And sometimes because you're happy that you did that, you'll be in a different frame of mind, and that might enable you to do the next thing that might have sounded overwhelming, impossible, or just completely undesirable. And it becomes something that's not a big deal because you've either started with a fun thing or you've attached something fun to it. And so I kind of think, okay, if it's a fun first thing, if I need to get on my computer and get ready for the next podcast, there's some parts of that that are really fun. The research, I think I have my glasses are smeared or something, so I'm going to take this off. Um, the research part is really fun for me. So, like today, I learned more about serotonin and dopamine. It was super fun. And I like that. It just energized me. And you can tell what you think is fun because you get a little energy from it. You feel good inside. And why is that? Because something's changing. Chemicals are changing in your brain by doing something. Some people call it novelty or it has pleasure attached to it. It's exciting, it's invigorating. It can even be just playing music that you love. And having that music going, and it gets you in that mode in your body, and then you start relaxing in your brain, you start thinking, "I can do this," and you have ideas that are helpful, and they help you get the work done. And that is a really great strategy, is just to think, "Is there something fun about it that I can do?" Even if it's out of order. Let's say you're gonna make a cake for someone's birthday, and, yeah, you like making cake, but you don't feel like doing it. But you might enjoy just bringing out the ingredients, maybe not. I enjoy that. I like setting up the ingredients. It appeals to the organized part of my brain of liking to do something that's simple. All I have to do is just set all this out. When I was younger, I'd set out the dry ingredients, set out the other things or whatever. Or sometimes I make it, like they call it gamify it. I don't know if I'm actually making it a game, but I'll actually have a system to it that feels like a game. Is instead of setting everything out like they do on a cooking show or something, you take each thing out, you use it, and then you put it away. And you keep putting things away as you go, even washing the cups or putting them in the dishwasher as you go. I like doing that. There's a method to it. It becomes fun and it's rewarding because I know there won't be a mess at the end. And that's super fun for me. So, whatever makes it fun for you will make it easier for you to do it. And sometimes it might not seem like, okay, does this actually fulfill that definition of fun? Is it actually fun? Like, am I going, yay, this is such a party? Not always. Sometimes that fun factor can be just something that is pleasurable to you or that you like or that makes you feel happy inside. I've mentioned that I love lighting candles in the morning lately. I've been lighting a few candles, and it just takes the mood of the morning to be more uplifting, makes me feel good inside, makes me feel more like I can just get into a mode of going and doing instead of waking up. Even though I have energy in the morning, sometimes I just want to get on my computer, because that's easy and look at emails and then shop or something, even if you don't need to buy something. Yeah, scrolling, scrolling. Just before I got on here, I knew that I wanted to get on here, and my son asked, "What time are you gonna record your podcast?" 3 o'clock, and it was about 2:30, and I was just about ready to come in here, and I said, "Yeah, 3 o'clock." I thought he wants some time to play the piano. I can give him that. And so I started looking at used clothing websites like Poshmark or Mercari, and we're looking at things and found that they save my searches. I didn't have anything I wanted to buy, but I thought, what were my searches? Thinking I was going to be productive and clean it out, like get rid of the things that I'm not searching for another computer. I have one, I'm using it right now. And so I could check that off. But then I saw other things. Oh, I forgot that I looked for that. Oh, that'd be fun to look at those for a while and scroll, 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 scroll. And it was mindless, and 3 o'clock came around, 3:30 came around, I still hadn't gotten up to come in here. That was a big waste of my time. I did something that was fun, but it led me down, a slippery slope. So, notice if the thing that you do that's fun is gonna be actually useful, productive, or just a complete waste of time. I'm not saying you can't ever waste time. Of course, we can all do whatever we want. But if that's not what you like to do, if that's what you wish you hadn't done at the end of the day, or you think, gosh, I had a lot of time today and I blew it, you know, that happens a lot. So you can define what fun first means to you, what you do first that's fun. And it might be setting the stage. It might be lighting a candle or turning on some music, making the stage what you want, or getting dressed, putting on your makeup first. Sometimes these patterns that we once have that were easy for us might not be the pattern anymore. Do you want to get back into that? Do you want to wake up, get all ready before you do anything else? Or do you like to kind of have that feeling like it's a day off? If you're at home, you don't have to be somewhere right away. Do you act like it's a day off first? I do sometimes. And it's kinda nice, it's kinda nice. It reminds me of when I was younger and I'd go to a slumber party and I'd come home the next day and I just kind of, laze around and stuff. And sometimes we can give ourselves permission to do that, but maybe not always. So, yeah. So you can also look and see what's the enjoyable part of the task. Maybe you enjoy doing design on Canva and you're building a website and you just want to work on the designs or your branding or something like that. Or you are taking care of the kids and you look around, there's 20,000 things to be done. Just pick one of them that sounds doable, fun. Maybe it allows you to be in the same room with the kids and enjoy being there and not have to run back and forth. And, just know that you have a choice and it's okay to choose the thing that is more fun because you're more likely to be productive than to not choose that and not get anything done or just get very little of something done. Yeah, because when things feel like they're too much, they are too much. And if you just find something that isn't too much, you can break through that. And the change in your mindset can make it so the other things might be doable too. And you might be able to get yourself to do it. Even just if you have to write, take notes, go to school, whatever. I don't know if you did this when you were growing up, but the first day of school, we'd have a new outfit for the first day and a new notebook or binder paper or backpack. We didn't really have backpacks when I was little, but my kids did. And having things like that, and sometimes I think with ADHD, we do this anyway. If I just had a new planner, if I just had a new notebook, if I just had a new pen, and maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. But if you do find, I have a favorite kind of pen that I like to use, make it more enjoyable. If you do need to calendar some things out, schedule some things out, find your favorite pen, buy a few extras. I found my favorite pen they sell in the Target. I can put my favorite things on the website if you want. They're things that feel good, the paper that feels good to write on, the actual feeling of the pen. Do you have those sensory things? If you do, choose those things if you can. If you can, get rid of the things that you don't like, the ones that run out of ink fast and are always having to, kind of shake to get them to work. Get rid of those things that make it more of a chore. But our brains are wired to not just have, well, they're wired a certain way, and then they're wired so that they don't naturally have those dopamine lifts to be able to get up and do something. And some of the things that we do can promote that spark. And what I learned about the brain chemistry is that we have the two things that we need more of: serotonin and dopamine. The dopamine is the spark. So if you were going to drive a car, from what I understand, my husband loves to fix cars and work on cars. I'm pretty clueless when it comes to how cars work. But what I've learned is there's a spark plug, there's a spark that helps start the car, and then the gas keeps the car going, or it can idle or something. But, sometimes it uses more gas, sometimes it uses electricity for hybrid or whatever. But the spark is what you need to get up. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm going to do this next. I'm going to do that next. That's your spark. That's your dopamine. If you have enough dopamine for your brain to work in the way that it's supposed to work, then you have that spark. You've taken your ADHD medicine, you went out and exercised, you've done something this. So sometimes that helps you get that spark. Sometimes I listen to an audiobook or a podcast. That is a stimulant. Stimulants give that spark. Caffeine is a stimulant. Stimulant medications, other ADHD medications can do that for us and give us that availability to have our brain work right. And it's interesting because I was reading some more about dopamine, and I shared a few episodes ago about how my psychiatrist resident told me it's not that people with ADHD don't have enough dopamine. Excuse me, about to clear my throat. I know there's a button I can stop that, but try not to have a grovelly throat, but I might just enjoy it. Anyway, he said that it's not that you're low on dopamine, it's that you need more because you have more receptors. So I was reading, is that really the case? And sometimes that's the case, is that we have more receptors than we have dopamine for, even though we might have the same amount of dopamine as somebody else. But we also have our brains work in a different way so that in order to get it to work right, it needs more dopamine, whether that matters to you or not. It's not always a receptor thing. It's if the receptors are firing, if the spark plug is faulty or something like that. And so it might take more dopamine to get that receptor to fire, whether it's a lack of how many receptors or the lack of the receptor working with that first spark of dopamine. So, yeah. So dopamine is the motivator. It gives us the energy, it gives us the excitement, it gives us the feeling of, yes, I'm going to do this. Other things can do that too. Other people can be that for us. They knock at the door and say, come on, let's go for a walk. And like, yay, oops, yay, my friend's here. I'm going to go for a walk. You just got a spark of dopamine from that. And you're ready to go. And you feel some accountability and all those things. That's your motivator. That's your excitement. If you're all alone and you don't have a boss, you might have a boss and it doesn't feel fun, but you might have a boss, a supervisor, a deadline, and it's not that you really think this is so fun, I'm going to do it, but that is your dopamine. That's your spark. I don't know if it's actual dopamine, but it's what helps you. I got to do this. You think, oh no, it's the deadline. It's the last minute thing. And for a lot of people, that is really a motivator. Sometimes with ADHD, that deadline isn't the motivator. And we're like, oh, no, no, no. And we're feeling really bad and we might miss the deadline. We might also forget about the deadline. But that's another problem with ADHD. But yeah, there are a lot of things that can help trigger that spark. And sometimes it could just be figuring out some fun way to do it or starting with something that doesn't take much of a spark. Some things don't take much of a spark. Think of it as going downhill. It doesn't take very much for me to find a frame and say, I'm going to find a print, maybe from a calendar or a card from Trader Joe's or something, and say, I want to put something new in this frame and I want to put it on the wall. For some reason, I love doing that. I'm not actually a framer with beveling the edges and stuff. What do they call it? The mat. My husband knows how to do that. I can hand him a mat that's not fit right, and he can take it outside and to the garage and come back, and it's all perfect. I have no idea how he does it. I mean, I'm sure he uses some tool, but yeah, that's not my forte, making things look good in that way. But I can straighten and re-straighten and straighten and re-straighten something and put it in the frame and look at it and think, that's the right frame for it, or that's not. And then look at the wall. It's kind of funny because there's some things, I don't know if you're like this, that I have an obsessive need for it to be a certain way, like that, maybe that plays to that of getting that just straight and backing up. I'm saying that as I look at these 6 drawings that my husband's an artist, he did charcoal drawings, of my kids and one of me up here. And it's many years ago, so I look a little different. My hair's a lot shorter. But, but I love doing that. So it doesn't take any motivation for me to do that because the natural love is there and you don't need that. You have that love in you. That is your dopamine. Oh yes, I want to do that. Does it take any motivation for you to do something that you really love? Probably not. If you want to go to a concert, you're going to get in the car and go to that concert. If you have something else playing with your brain, but we're not going to the exceptions, even though my brain loves to go to the exceptions. But one of the reasons that doing what is fun, what we love first, starting with that or finding a way to make it fun, putting on the music, inviting someone to do it with us, or creating that dopamine by having a accountability person is that it is that spark. I mentioned last time the different things that can help you with accountability and figuring out who is that person or who are those people and how is that going to help me achieve that goal. And then afterwards I went to a class. I've been teaching this Monday, Wednesday, Friday class at a gym that's kind of a yoga stretch class, and it is a yoga stretch class, but I keep changing the name. So anyway, Monday and Wednesday it's at 9, and on Fridays it's at 8:30. And so I decided, well, actually, last year I tried to get myself to do this on my own because I've worked out for years and years. I mean, almost 20 years. Oh, more than that, almost 30 years every morning, and not a problem. Moved here, change in my life. Who knows why? Hard for me to get up early and do that first. It's really hard. That it's no longer the fun first thing. The fun first thing is to go in the kitchen, get a pre-workout drink, but sit down at the computer with it and not go work out. And so last year I thought, if you just go to the gym all 3 of those days earlier, an hour earlier, and work out, then you have your workout, you're already there. You can go in that room by yourself. You can do whatever you want. There's a lot of equipment in there. And then they come in, you've done it. That's your easily defined Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I was going to do the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at home. I did it here and there, but this January, I tried it again, and some of the people came in and said, "Oh, what are you doing?" Some people came in thinking, "Oh, we're late to class. Did you change the time?" No, 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 I'm working out. I'm not doing the stretch class. And it turned into a few of them wanting to do it with me. And so I invited him to do it, but we're only doing it for a half hour because I wanted to keep it. They needed a gentler workout, and it's actually good for me too because I'm doing hot yoga on the other days now, and it's very sweaty and very exhausting, but it has kept me doing it. And we decided not to do it on Fridays, just Mondays and Wednesdays, because they're already getting there at 8:30 on Fridays. So now they get there Monday, Wednesday for the workouts. Fridays they can stay after for their workout or whatever. But I was thinking about it yesterday and I thought I 100% wouldn't be consistent with it if they weren't texting and saying, "So are we still doing it this Monday?" I mean, I wouldn't have forgotten at that point. But their interest in it and them getting me to follow through is everything, and it's a motivator. It's my little dopamine that says, "Hurry, get your stuff. It's time to go," and I do it. So dopamine is the first thing that explains why having something fun can be helpful to trigger you to get yourself to do what you need to do. The other thing is serotonin, and what is serotonin? Serotonin is something that is low if you have depression, and it's probably low for other issues too. But if you think of if you've ever had actual depression or been depressed or postpartum depression or whatever, and the joy is taken out of everything and you just don't feel like doing anything. I've never had a clinical depression or even a postpartum depression to to the degree of not wanting to do anything. I've had a day in the hospital each time I had a baby where I would just cry and have the nurses shut all the curtains and block all my calls because I just thought, "Oh," I didn't feel mentally that I was giving up, which I'm thankful for, but my body was changing so fast hormonally that I was just weepy and just needed to be in a cave. So, um, but I have had other times, I think they were related to PMS or something, very few, where I have experienced this, and even one of the medications I tried with ADHD, all of the joy of eating, shopping, going somewhere, they were all gone. There wasn't anything enjoyable besides just being on the computer and designing things for my website. And so that's just what I would do. I was driven to do that besides teaching yoga. I'd still go teach yoga. I could still talk to people. I could still maintain that. But the enjoyment of those things were gone. And so if you think of being overwhelmed by something, it could be that you don't understand how to do it. It could be, I have a blanket around my microphone. Another story. Anyway, I'm sorry. I feel bad for the people just listening that aren't watching on ADHD on YouTube because I do get distracted by video. But here we go. I'm learning as I go. And hopefully that won't happen as much. But when you have lost that joy or you don't have the joy, the interest even in doing something, then how are you going to get yourself to do it? And there are medications that can boost serotonin. But if you are, what do they call it? Like, you have a base level, you're not depressed, but you don't have quite enough serotonin to be wanting not only to have the spark to do it, so that's the dopamine, but even if you did have the spark, you couldn't just get yourself to do it. You couldn't get yourself to keep doing it. You might start and stop. And there are a lot of women with ADHD that I've heard from who can get themselves to start something, but they have so many unfinished projects. They lose interest in it. They leave it undone. And there can be a lot of reasons for that. One of them could be that you just don't have enough serotonin to sustain it. It could just be that you get bored, you don't have enough time, you have a lot of distractions, there are a lot of other reasons. But if you're really content doing something, I call it soothing. You're in a flow, it feels good, it's a calming energy. Like I described, I love to frame things for whatever reasons. I love to organize books on my bookshelf. Every house I've lived on, and I rearrange the books a lot. When I used to have a ton of DVDs, I used to rearrange the DVDs, change out the covers, put them in different size cases. That was calming and soothing to me. It felt good to do it. It's a steady, calm, feel good hormone. It's not the dopamine, "Woo, I just rode a roller coaster." It's more, I'm riding the train around Disneyland and I'm just enjoying the ride. And you're just more in that calm mood. You don't need the excitement, but it's a stable, steady, I'm going to keep going. And it really does, when you have enough serotonin, it not only helps you get things done and stay in that, but it also helps you regulate your moods. It helps you have less stress. It helps you be more balanced emotionally. And it's just a calmer baseline to have when you have enough serotonin. And so when you do something that you know you enjoy, you're starting with that. It doesn't have to be, I'm just so excited it's going to be so lively. I'm going to be dancing while I'm cleaning. It can be that, but it can also be going toward things that you love to do. And the older you get, you start to see, yeah, there are some things that I don't particularly love doing, and I can't really afford to get anyone else to do that. And so I will just try to get myself to do that. Maybe not as often, but I'll do it, hopefully. But as you get older, if you can afford to cut some of those things out of your life so you're not dreading, just kind of having a drudgery kind of existence, you don't want to have that. You want to have an enjoyable existence. But if you're able to bring things together that can help boost your serotonin, because you can boost your serotonin by doing things that you enjoy, then it can help you be more steady, not only with what you get done, but also keeping yourself going in life and not having so many unfinished things and really feeling bad about yourself, because sometimes you feel like, why can't I get it done? Why can't I get it done? And like I said, there's a lot of reasons, but that could be one of them. So let's go. Let me see if there's anything I haven't thought of here, because I have way too many notes. One is to pick the most appealing step, which I talked about, kind of picking out, this is what I'm going to do first, and then I'll do something else. It's kind of like the spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. You do the fun thing and then use something else. You can also pair something that you enjoy. If you do like folding clothes and you want to fold clothes, but you can't just sit there and do it on your own, but you love to do it with a good TV show, then watch a good TV show. I've been watching TV while folding laundry since I was a child, and I still love doing it that way. I'm finding there's a lot of pairings for me. I feel like I'm high maintenance like that. Like I talked about the pen and stuff, but I like to be on a soft rug like that. I should have a rug like this in my bedroom. I don't. We have a hardwood floor, we have a wool carpet, and then I traded it out, and then I put kind of a fluffy one. I just haven't bought a big rug or anything expensive, and I want carpet to sit on while I fold clothes. and I don't have it, so it's still not as fun for me, but oh well. Making something playful, like having a new colored binder, or if you're gonna be in your kitchen a lot and you don't like the color of the walls, paint the walls, and then maybe it's more playful in there, and you'll enjoy being in there. Or you gotta keep your schedule, you have a calendar, and you decide, "I'm gonna use stickers, I'm gonna decorate my calendar with stickers or different colored pens," or whatever. Do that, make it more fun. And then you can also just kind of identify, I'm just doing this a little bit. It is you can do the small step thing because that can be more fun. If you're gonna clean the kitchen or something, and the small step is unloading the dishwasher, I have a hard time getting myself to start unloading, but I like to put cups away. So I go over and I start with the cups, and I think, "Just unload the cups." And then I think, "Well, I also like plates." I hate putting away silverware, but once I start with the knives, if I group it by theme, does everyone do that? If I take out all the butter knives and take out anything plastic, I kinda like it. It appeals to that obsessive part in my brain. So the dopamine is the spark, the serotonin is your momentum, it keeps you going. And you don't have to look at fun. What's great about this is you don't have to look at fun as the reward. I used to do that, and I probably still do sometimes, but I used to do that a lot in my having babies, losing weight days of I'm trying to lose this weight. It's hard for me to do. I'm eating more now than ever. I'm only eating sugar, and I needed to crack down with something. And so I would give myself a reward. You can buy this barbell. I still have that barbell. I never use it anymore. But you can buy this barbell that cost $40. Didn't include the weight plates, and I still love it. But that can be a reward if you do these workouts as you scheduled for 6 weeks. And I did, and I got the reward. But you don't have to just like, if you do this, you get some ice cream. Like I used to, well, I have done that with my children. I know you're not supposed to give rewards as food, but we do. Teachers do. Everyone does, right? Maybe not everyone, but. And then look at every little step counts. Even if you only did the fun things today, every step counts. Even if you did a little bit of laundry and you still have so much to do, you did a little bit of laundry. Maybe you can find your socks. So all those things are important. And it's not cheating to start with a fun. It's not, you weren't lazy to begin with. And this is a trick. You're tricking yourself to get yourself to do that. It's not like that. You're using what you can to help your brain chemistry to your advantage because your brain chemistry isn't what it needs to be to help you get these things done, or you'd be getting it done. It's not always just saying, "Okay, I'm going to do this right now." Sometimes saying that out loud can be a dopamine spark. And you're standing up, you're saying it, you're motivating yourself. Maybe that is motivating, but sometimes you can't get yourself to stand up and do that. So whatever it can be. And I've probably mentioned this before, smiling at yourself in the mirror, that can even help. That can be helpful if you're feeling like, and you just need a little bit of lift. You don't have to reach for sugar. If you need some chocolate, you can. But you just look yourself in the mirror. There's my little mirror. You smile at yourself like, "Yep, I see you." And there you are again. It's okay. And you just kind of laugh, and it does bring it the mood up a little bit. But I think that's it. I think it is. I always think of things afterwards. It's like that phone call and, you talk to somebody and then you call back and or email and then you say, "Oh, also, forgot to send the attachment." There's no attachment here, but, "I forgot to say this." But yep, yep, yep. I'm so disorganized. I'm trying not to make that sound like a bad thing. I'm organized about some things, but I'm pretty disorganized with my notes. And I'm just saying, creates momentum. Bum, 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 bum. And I guess the other thing that I wanted to say is that the accountability factor, the co-working factor, especially if people are with you in real life, or you get to talk, if you like to talk to a friend or something, and you connect on Zoom and then you work together, or you meet at the coffee shop and you work together. Some of that dopamine, some of that energizing that gets you there comes from that accountability and not just I gotta do this, the responsibility, but the joy in working with whoever you're working with. and finding that way to do it. You can even do things that spark your dopamine just kind of by an excitement factor. Like if you think of when you're driving and a deer runs out in the road and you go, that's you're not planning on that. You just get excited, right? So you go into that fight or flight or whatever. And sometimes we get that excitement from doing something that's a little more drastic in our cleaning method or whatever it is. And if you have to declutter, if you need to deorganize, you have boxes of things to go through. Sometimes doing something that's just kind of like a big move will give you that spark, will give you kind of that excitement, like, "Ooh," you know? And one method that I super love is to take and you can just do I've heard to do it out in your driveway, but I usually do it in the house. You could take a blanket or something or just use the carpet or whatever, and just take the box and dump it all out on the floor. And then just look at it and go, "Oh," and there's kind of some shock factor, of all the stuff that you have, and you don't wanna turn that into overwhelm. You turn it into, "Whoa, that was fun." And then you just hurry and just take away anything that you think you don't need, or just take the things that you do need and just don't even look at the rest and get rid of it. So any of those things that can kinda just make you go, "Whoo," can be helpful here. Helpful here. So make it easy. Anything that you can think of too that you find easy to do and other people just think, "How do you do that?" "You're gardening. You're so good with gardening." You're like, "Oh, that's easy." Or, "How do you keep your car so clean?" That's not mine. How do you whatever it is, baking bread or whatever's easy for you, if you can find those ways, get into those grooves, find those things. I actually enjoyed that. Start with that. Actually enjoyed that part. And even build your life around it. If you love making bread, make bread for dinner. If you love popping popcorn, not that that's an enjoyable thing, but if you love eating popcorn, you can eat things that you enjoy too. You can make healthy eating a pleasurable experience. If you don't love, probably people love healthy eating more than I do. I do love it, but not to the level of making dinner with vegetables and stuff. I'm not good at that. And that's not my forte. And that's not a negative. I'm just talking out loud. But yeah, find your things, and let me know if you want to share. I love it when people share. Email me. Go to my website, renee-allen.com. You can just sign up for my newsletter. It'll put us in touch. I'll send you tips. And I've kind of taken a little hiatus from that this summer. I don't think I've sent one in about a month and a half. But I like being in touch, sharing tips, sharing common experiences we have, and hearing from others. And it just connects you on a day-to-day level to know I was doing this and someone else is doing this too. And I get ideas from you, and hopefully you get ideas from me. So thank you so much for being here. This is 103. Next will be 105. And I only say that to keep it straight, hopefully, in my own mind. But thank you for being here, and I will be back again next week. Bye.
Double chins, rubber ducks, squeaky cheese and paper cups, applesauce, Superman, rocket ships and Peter Pan, boogie boards and parachutes and soda cans, jumping jacks and pillowcases for my hands, Donald Duck and fire trucks and Pokemon, Santa Claus and Johnny Depp and Donkey Kong, chocolate chips and zippers, zips and 914, little children jumping on the trampoline, model trains and passing lanes and super glue, tangerines and magazines and kangaroo. Oh yeah, Daily Rock. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me. I buttered my toast, spread on some grape jelly. I don't mean to boast, but I'm a chef and a good one. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause. No time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.